the way he dressed, the way he attired himself, the sort of perfume he wore, the itr he used, the aftershave, the cologne he used. Everything had an impact on me. The way he ate. He had very baby-like hands. I mean, the shapes of his fingers. His palms were reddish, pinkish, being a very fair person. So when he used to eat, he used to cup his hands like this and used to eat. That itself was something to watch, the way he's eating, the way he's chewing, the way he's helping a beggar. He's just putting his hand inside his pocket and just not looking at how much is taken out. But this is something which his father also used to do. जब देना है तो फिर देखना मत कि क्या दे रहे हो, कितना दे रहे हो. जब देना है, अगर नहीं देना तो मत दो. His ability to speak. He was in those days interacting with the creme de la creme of the Kolkata and Delhi society. He was a very knowledgeable person about Urdu poetry, about ghazals, about shairi and the poets, which are, you've seen in many of his thumris where Girabandi is done, where he has read out some wonderful shairs. So this is another aspect which requires a lot of study and introspection, which I'm afraid not many of the masses would and can understand even today. One thing which he always used to say, I mean that I take it to be a praise, he said, okay, ये बंदा कभी कुछ चाहता नहीं, because people used to come and say, Ustadji, वो राग, वो बंदिश जरा बता दीजिए, एटा शिकबो, to please. I never used to, actually I didn't have the courage. Frankly speaking, I didn't have the guts to tell him ke एटा शिकबो, no. Whatever he threw at me, I just used to lap it up. And I think that helped, that trust factor, that helped a lot. That I blindly just closed my eyes and I just blindly trust myself on him. Do whatever you want to do with me. And there. And another thing, very important thing which I learned just by watching him, how he managed to control his voice, because he had a very large, full-throated voice. The microphone. If you hear his recordings, there's not a single blurb or a burst, because he used to very intelligently, move his head backwards. When he was going up, when it was a full-throated, full throw, especially during the khayal recitals. Chumri, it was far more modulated, the voice is modulated, and then it was much less problematic than khayal. So this is another aspect which I learned. And see, there are many of the things which I learned, which I realize now that I had learned. Because I didn't know the application. I didn't know where and how to apply it. But then those things were deep rooted in the mind. They had just settled there, And now they're coming back. As I am a teacher now, it's coming back when I'm facing similar situations. Then I remember those words, those particular situations, and I apply those. And then I remember, okay, he taught me this also. I had learned this from him also. Something he used to say that पहले अच्छे इंसान बनो. पहले अच्छे इंसान बनो, फिर सुर भी सच्चे लगेंगे. Which is of course true, we all know that. But on a day-to-day basis, again, how to apply your techniques to draw out your emotions. You may not be in the mood to entertain a very exuberant audience on a particular day at a concert. Yet you are being paid professional to do that. Just because you're in a morose mood, you have your own personal problems, you simply can't afford to, play about the gallery. So then you have to adopt certain technicalities which will help people believe or make them believe that, okay, he's in a happy mood, which is not actually, or the other way around. So when we went for shopping for Gandabandi, when he saw that so much was in purchased and all, he said, "पजामे के कपड़े में इतना पैसा खर्चा मत करो, long cloth ले लो." I remember we'd gone to a new market. That was the only place to go to those days, and to some jewelers to buy some buttons or something, and whatever stuff we had bought, and then one thing which my mother had wanted, in that Balokak Lane house, there was a picture on near the dining table of Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab and MS Subbulakshmi. It was of when he had visited South India, Bade Khan Sahab, and the people from the community under G.N. Balasubramanian, they'd given a huge rose necklace, a rose garland. So my mother had this Ustadji ke ramaata dekho, unke liye bhi aisa karenge. So in those days, there used to be these South Indian flower stalls in Lake Market. All these South Indian communities used to stay there. So we ordered that huge rose garland. So he wore that, and he also wore a dhoti and a kurta. He said, "Aaj main Bengali ban ke jaunga, and Bengali tarike se main dhoti pehnunga." There used to be 3-4 rows, in that room where we used to learn in Kolkata. There was no other furniture, just the carpet and a segregated area. I won't say segregated. There was a wooden partition where you'll see Ustadji's picture with the Surmandal, where there's a wooden partition behind him. That wooden partition, just in front of it, behind that partition was his bedroom. So he used to have 2 gautakiyas or 2 pash balishes by his side, and his ugaldan, his pikdan, and his Dunhill cigarette and ashtray placed there, and that was his place. And there used to be circles, rows, half circles, semicircles, where the girls, then the little grown-up girls, then the ladies, then the men, then the boys, then the men, they used to sit. And this was a normal scene on any day morning. Because when I had gained consciousness and when I started learning, he was not a Kolkata resident. So when he used to come to Kolkata, there was no place for the students to keep their shoes, their chappals. It used to come out of the flat in which he used to live in, and the staircase and everywhere. It was strewn all over. And all these people, they used to throng, and the parents also, they also were allowed inside class. They also sat there. Because attending the class in itself was like listening to a musical concert. It was such a homely atmosphere. And come lunchtime, some people had to go who stayed a little far away. They had to leave early. Some people would stay back for lunch. That was quite the norm. तुम्हें कितने बजे घर वापस जाना है? मैं इतने बजे जाना है. रह जाओ, खाना खा लो, अपने साथ आओ खाना. And this was quite natural that people who have come to my house, human beings, who have joined class at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, they left home at 7 o'clock. They could barely have had breakfast or just had a munch of something. So they must be hungry. So when the class is getting over at 2, 2:30 in the afternoon, by the time they reach home, it's going to be 3, 3:30 or 4. So people who wanted to stay back, you can most willingly stay back and have lunch. I mean, this was very natural. It was expected. And Ammaji, well, with her chula, ever cooking chula, which was always ready to serve food for so many people. So Ustadji actually lived life king size, Comparison is inevitable. It is very natural. But blind comparison without understanding, because people who compared actually never understood his father also. First of all, it was a very well manipulated and well planned effort to demean and demoralize Ustad Munawar Ali Khan. None of us are like our fathers. We can never be. We are not made to be like that way, because we are individual entities who also have attributes of our mothers and our fathers brought together, which makes us a complete human being, or whatever we are. So Munawar Ali Khan Sahab, whatever he was only because he was Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab's son. Look at the self-contradictory point here. And yet he established an identity for himself with his own gaiki, maintaining the facets of the gharana, of the gaiki, of the talim he received from his father and his uncle, and whatever he had heard from his grandfather. What I heard from Ustadji, that his voice, his tonal quality was much like his grandfather's, Ustad Ali Khan Sahab. पंजाबी में दे सेठ के आवाज़ का कैंडा है जो मेरी आवाज़ का कैंडा मेरे दादा वर्गा है, मेरे दादे वर्गा, यानी उस्ताद अली बख्श खान साहब की तरह है. बड़े खान साहब had a different sort of voice texture. So one can have individual preferences, you know. I may like Bade Khan Sahab more than his son. That's my personal choice. But comparing him just to, if I say Bade Khan Sahab was not like his son, no, his son was better, that's further unfair. That's even unfair. Ustadji, me and my tutti frutti Urdu and my English, Ustadji, kal kab aayenge, kab aunga? He used to reply in Bangla. Tomi kal shokle esi jabe. Shokle esi jabe. He used to sound very sweet. He had a great respect for the language. He tried to speak Bangla as much as he could. In a flow of discussion, when he couldn't find words, then he chose Urdu or Hindi too. He loved the city, the spirit of the city, the secularism of the city. Bengalis are so culture conscious. I'll tell you a very small incident. He had come over to my place at Salimpur, where we used to stay those days. He'd come over for dinner, and I had gone back to drop him, and I told the taxi driver that I'm going to drop him and come back. This was in 1987, 88. So the taxi driver was a Bengali person. So on the way back, he talked about certain nuances of music and this and that, small talk. I dropped him in front of the Baloka Lane residence. He said, "तुमको ऊपर आने की जरूरत नहीं, मैं चला जाऊँगा, तुम जाओ, चलो, अम्मा अब्बा इंतजार कर रहे होगे, तुम निकलो." So taxi घुमा के we started coming back. The taxi driver tells me, "I'm going to tell you this in Bangla. I'm going to say it slowly so that others can also get the hang of it." The taxi driver tells me, "Eta Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Saheber Bari, Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Saheber Bari," mind you. He's not saying Bade Ghulam Ali Khan. Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Saheber Bari. I said, "Yes," quite flabbergasted. "How did you know?" "Are, aaj theke onek bochor age, many years ago, I had dropped Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab here. This was his son." Yes, this was his son. This is the spirit of Kolkata which he admired. And when he passed away, when he left us, I can't tell you the amount of grief I have seen amongst the various strata of society. His immediate family, of course, they were crying, of course, quite naturally. We were distraught and didn't know where to look up to, what to do. The Kolkata music fraternity, they were there in full force. Some media persons were also there. Neighbors. Shopkeepers in the Park Circus market. The darwans, the chowkidars. People just across the road of a particular political party. They, despite the fact that he was not a believer in their ideology. Tailors. I mean, people from all walks and strata of life, they were in awe of this perfect gentleman who treated everyone with equal importance. Such was his way of treating people that everyone thought that I am the most important person in ki nazar mein. Nobody felt undermined or everybody, मेरे साथ उस्ताद जी का कुछ अलग ही है. And this was something which manifested at its truest best in Kolkata because of the spirit of Kolkata. And his relationship with Kolkata is still there. He lies buried here. He came to Kolkata on the 12th of September and he left on the 13th of October 1989.